Well, hello there. Wait a minute. Isn't this deja vu? Didn't we just do this already? Well, anyway, hello there, Apple Bites. This is your Apple Bite, Rafael Tavares, talking to you straight from our show here, The Written Writ, Late Right. A show where you and I and you, take a journey together to become better writers. Yes, we are back again. May feel like it was only been 30 minutes, because it has. We have a special RPG night for you because we love quests here at Bitten Apple. We all take our quests seriously. Isn't that right, Shadow Rabbit?
You better believe it, man. I got my D20s ready. Let's get this show on the road.
All right. Hopefully, we roll some good rolls here, because we actually have not the intern on the side.
Hello, everybody. Today I'll be playing as a Class 4 Paladin who started out as Druid. And so I'm going to be carrying in with a Constitution of 12 in order to start off, and a Charisma level of 24. Don't ask me how I got that.
That Constitution is going to get you killed.
Don't worry about it. Do not worry about it. My Charisma is going to keep going up.
Vincent, good to see you. Thanks for following us over here. You were saying, Shadow?
I was saying, if it's as charming as it is in regular life, you know, that's even taking a few points off.
Well, Nat, you just got complimented.
Thank you. I live dangerously.
Oh, my God. And, of course, our guests today are BattleQuestComics Drew and Everbornsaga. Wow. I slipped the name here. Everborn, what's the name?
No, I'm Steve, but Everbornsaga is the name. You just call me Everborn.
Hey, I like Everborn Steve.
Let's go.
It's like Minecraft.
Does have a nice ring.
I think you might want to think about it, Everborn Steve.
That's what I'm saying, man. It could work. Right now on Twitter, my name is Everbornsaga, just because I'm a diehard Sega stan.
Sega. Woo!
I remember back in the days when Sonic was good. It was about 30 years ago.
If you get the emulator, it's still good, you know.
Oh yeah. They did Sonic Mania the other day, which was pretty good. So I hope they do more good things. But boy, what a fall from grace.
Sonic has a new game coming out, doesn't it? Or did it come out already?
They just did Sonic Colors, but that was a re-release of an old Switch game, and they didn't even up-res the cutscene, so they're still like in 720p. But they just registered a trademark for Sonic Frontier.
Okay.
And I'm hoping, I've been praying to the universe that one day we will get a AAA Sonic game that is
Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games.
No. I hate to see the 8-year-old boy in me hates to see how Mario is flourishing and Sonic is just
that is true
waiting tables. That's just
Mario is on fire right now.
Well, where can you really go? Where can you really go with Sonic? He just runs around and grabs coins. You know,
that's the problem. Now check this out. I've thought about this, right? If you call Everborn Steve to write or design your Sonic game, the first thing I'm doing is Sonic lost his speed. And he has to get it back.
Nice.
And so I think that the reason Sonic never really translated well to the 3D 3D platformer genre, where the way Mario has, is because they're so stuck on speed, all the levels have to be flat, and the best they can do is loop-de-loops, right?
That's true, yeah.
But if you take away his speed and you make the game more about traversal than it is running fast, this means you are rail grinding, wall running, jumping. You just have to keep moving, but it isn't necessarily about speed. So think of a Sonic game that looks like that new Ratchet and Clank game for PS5.
Oh,
right.
Interesting.
And when he wants to do, maybe he can do short bursts of speed, and that could sort of work like, again, Ratchet and Clank, where he uses the portal to pull himself to another location. So there's things that you can do, and as the game goes by, he'll get more of his speed powers, and you can kind of upgrade things like what they did with God of War. It could work, man. I think Sonic could come back and it could be big. They just have to get away from we're running around. And instead of doing loop-de-loops, you do big like set pieces, right? Like things are exploding, buildings are falling. You got to keep running through it. You know what I mean? It could work. Sonic, AAA.
I like what you have. I like that idea.
It sounds like Sonic 7, though.
Yeah, man. So you got like a subreddit or?
I should set this up. I should.
Yeah, man. It feels like you put a little bit of thought into it.
It does.
I put maybe too much thought into it.
No, man. Let's make a quick trailer for it, man, because you got me sold on it.
Yeah,
I gotta admit, I'm like, dude, maybe you should do a Superman game too while you're at it, because one of the problems of Superman games is they never know which way to go with them.
Well, if you've ever played the game Anthem, that has some of the best flying in all of video games. So you try that one out, do a play on that mechanic, and maybe it could work. But I'm actually not a fan of the Superman character, believe it or not. Biggest Mary Sue in all of comics.
Yeah, it's hard to get into Superman. He's hard to do right, in my opinion.
Well, that's the problem. Like, he's a great character, but I feel like if you have the wrong writer or the wrong creative team on Superman, then it doesn't translate well.
Well, I think more of Superman in today's world, I kind of almost blame us for it, right? In that I think we've become more cynical as a society, and I hate that word society, right? But Superman was kind of, as I looked at him as a kid, an ideal, right? It's something you want to strive towards, and you'll never get to it, but that is the purpose of life, right? Like your reach should extend past your grasp, or else what is heaven for, as they say, right? But Superman is the reach, but you'll never get there. But in today's world, we look at Superman, the Uberman, the ideal, and we say, no, that'd never exist. What we're more interested in today is the anti-hero. We are more interested in the Walter Whites. We're more interested in the Tony Sopranos, right? And so we see Superman and he becomes boring. And maybe we've lost something. Maybe Superman hasn't failed us. We failed
Superman. Exactly. I agree with you.
I don't know if I would agree with that, because then we have characters sort of like Saitama from One Punch Man, who is at the Superman level, but he's dealing with what to do next. And a lot of people can resonate with that, because we're no longer at that point where we're like trying to reach a goal. We're always like, what do we do once we get to a goal? Because especially with like a lot of people within the younger area, it's like, what do we even want to do with life? Say like you just graduate college. What do you do? Like, wow, we got a diploma. Now what?
Well,
where do you go from there?
To take on that a little bit, and I think to go back to some of the cynicism that we see in society, I think that in my dad's generation, they really did think that Star Trek was coming, and now the future is here, and it's really Back to the Future Part 2. Which is like, it seems like that's the closest we've really, where it's like, technology is really kind of depressing, like it gets you fired when you're at home with the fax machine, and that. So it's almost like people have realized that we're on this planet, and what are we going to do now? And actually, ironically, that makes it even more important for Superman and not less important for Superman. In my opinion.
I agree
Yeah,
with you. Like I was going to tell, like I was about to say when everyone was talking, it's this concept of, what bothers me now is that we are so into the anti-hero that we forget that Superman isn't just this ideal; he's this way of living. And just because you're a good guy doesn't mean you don't have your own issues. And I feel like one of the problems they've done with Superman is they stepped away from the problems that Superman Clark Kent have. They've also made him way too powerful, or they've taken him away from the original concept of who he was. Especially because when Superman first came out, he didn't fly; he jumped. He was strong, but he wasn't, super strong. The powers were a little more of a super person than they were Superman.
Well, I'll say something controversial. I think Kevin Feige and the fine folks at MCU, through the story of Steve Rogers, have kind of told that Superman story in the way that you would hope they would actually tell a Superman story.
Exactly.
Right? He is a man sort of out of time. He is a Superman, so to speak, and he still abides by the old rules.
Exactly.
But the world has changed around him. So while everyone else is cynical, while everyone else is politics and all these other things, he is straight and narrow. He is north all the time, and sometimes to a fault.
Exactly.
And another thing that I think Richard Donner did this really well
with the original Superman. Yeah.
Where in when John Kent died, it was sort of like you have all this power in the world, but you can't save your father from a heart attack.
Exactly.
Right? And the idea that Superman can't save everyone is something that really was never touched in Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. And I love that movie because I hated Superman Returns. Right? There's a whole Superman movie where he doesn't punch anybody and he gets stabbed with a kryptonite shiv.
I remember.
And he's able to pick up a kryptonite mountain. Right? So Zack Snyder gave us a movie where Superman punched stuff. And I appreciate and love him for that. But I just needed the follow-up to that, and we never got it. And I do not count BVS as the follow-up to Man of Steel.
Not even the director's cut.
Oh, the Snyder cut, absolutely not. No, and so okay.
Here we go.
The thing is this. My problem, and I love Zack Snyder as a director. He is one of my favorite directors. Bit of an edgelord, and he does. If you look at his work, he sort of has a real fetish on Ayn Rand. He's a hard libertarian. If you I don't know how his politics are, but his movies says he's a staunch libertarian. But anyway, the thing is, he every frame and everything he said, every frame that he shot of those films, and everything he says around those characters is, this is not your granddad's Batman and Superman.
Right.
This is something new. Throw all of that out. We're telling it. This is an Elseworlds story. So
pretty much, yeah.
However, you cannot tell me throw out everything I know about Superman and Batman, and then expect me to care about what's going on and all that backstory that you never showed me.
Exactly.
You can't have that both ways, right? So you can't say I'm gonna pretend to kill Superman and you should feel something, even though we haven't had time with that Superman.
Right.
Right. And the same thing with Batman. You're telling a story where we're first meeting these characters, but you're riffing off a story that was about them at the end of their careers.
Exactly.
Right? Had we had a few films and several years to live with these characters playing off each other, when they fight, it means something then. It means nothing. It is visual noise when they fight in BVS, just because who are these people, right?
Exactly.
It's not the Batman I know. It's not the Superman I know. And you didn't take the time to build those characters out. You want me to make inferences, but you just told me to forget about those inferences or what I know. So whose Batman is this? I don't know.
It's
I
funny
stole
you
that
say
one
that.
scene from the Frank Miller one though, with the lightning coming.
You know, also it isn't always about their relationships with the other superheroes or with their antagonists, but their relationships with their co-stars, especially in the DC universe. Because to me, some of those characters, you maybe aren't supposed to relate to Superman, but the audience is supposed to relate to Lois Lane or to Jimmy Olsen, or you know Commissioner Gordon or Robin or Alfred. That's who we're supposed to understand with, because that's who we would be. So those movies didn't have much in the building those relationships with all those small characters as well. It just kind of threw the Titans together and made them have combat with one another. And so I see what you're saying. It's difficult to have an emotional reaction to that.
Exactly.
And you haven't grown with them.
Yeah,
and also one of the reasons why Batman and Superman fighting affects us is, like you're saying, there's a relationship between both of them. They have a relationship. They have a friendship. So when they finally end up fighting, it's this release of energy that's been building over years of them being at each other's throats.
Right, and that's the other thing. Like, what it should have felt like is your parents fighting and you're a kid.
Exactly.
And you're like, damn. But you just don't care when you're watching it. Like, and by the way, the fight choreography, apart from the warehouse scene, was not Zack Snyder's best work. I'm sorry. Like, it wasn't. The lumbering around and this is before we even get to the whole Martha thing. But
why did you say her name?
Look, man. Fun fact: I was at a screening for Civil War, and the Russo brothers were there, and there was like they were taking audience questions, and I said this to the Russo brothers: thank you for not giving Tony and Steve's mom the same name. Crowd erupted, but they were silent because they're consummate professionals. But again, like the whole thing that is about the build up to that fight, the fight itself wasn't even good, right? You're calling it fight, and this is before we even get to the horrible, terrible, no good casting of Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Just anyway.
You didn't like that
Dude,
scene
man.
feeding them Jolly Ranchers?
Dude, I said it then. I
Granny's
say it
pizza.
now. The best part of that movie is Wonder Woman. She has the best fight scene. She has the best lines. She, her coming in story
Background
is
music
fantastic.
is good.
Her chemistry with Ben Affleck or Bruce Wayne was great. But again, I still feel like the movie of them meeting for the first time, you should have done World's Finest.
That's true.
When they meet
better.
the first time, and then the sort of Dark Knight Returns thing that comes later, right?
I wish they'd do Dark Knight Returns as an Elseworld. I mean, there's no reason
That would
to
have
try
been
to.
good too, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But they saw the Avengers money and they're like, put it together quick.
Yeah, they got greedy, I think.
Oh, they got too greedy because you're right. They should have crafted the universe, but they didn't want to look like Marvel, which is funny because they still looked like Marvel except rushed.
You don't want to look like Marvel, but you put Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman in a movie. And if that wasn't enough, we still had to add Doomsday.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
That's
like
a lot of
saying I don't want to look like that person who looks great. I want to come in there with some crazy hat on or something.
Just a slight devil's advocate on the director. A slight devil's advocate, because there was something that to take down a Titan is something that a power-hungry person is going to want to do, right? Right. So Batman and the horrible casting of Lex Luthor kind of represent the two sides of humankind, and Superman is the Titan, and they're both competing to take it down. Now, Superman fights Batman, and Batman, because he's a hero, actually has success. But right when he can accomplish his goal, we have the Martha sequence, right? And so his humanity has been brought out, and so the question is humankind inherently good or inherently corrupt? And so that action is played out. And then you swoop in with Doomsday, and then the group that represents humankind takes on the even bigger Titan, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that theme to me jumped out at me more in the director's cut. And I was like, okay, so I saw that theme. But if you just see the original version, or maybe even to go back, aside from the bad casting of
terrible, no good casting.
Terrible. No, it was like they wanted to do Ledger impersonation, right? Which is.
We all want to poop on Zuckerberg a bit,
Batman, like Batman wouldn't have seen Superman and been like, you know what? I need to go and defeat that guy. He's the problem. Like that's just not Batman, right? So they took this idea in story, like that the human would want to topple the Titan to be the master of their domain or whatever, and they just kind of erroneously applied it to this particular situation. But it jumped out at me more at the director's cut. But in the first one I saw in theaters, I was like, wow, this could be the worst thing I've ever seen. The same with Justice League. It was like the worst thing I've ever seen.
But see, Justice League was even worse.
Yeah. Well, right? Yes. Yeah.
Because at least
movie.
It was my boy Copy. He'll defend that movie.
No. But here's the thing.
In the chat,
I respect BVS because it was a swing and a miss, but he went for a home run.
But you went to swing,
right?
Yeah, I got you.
And you're not always gonna hit the home run.
No.
But that was his vision, and like I said, as a fan of Zack Snyder, I'm here for it because honestly, I am a Man of Steel apologist. I say kill Zod every day and twice on Sundays, right? And maybe that's the thing that got him to make his rule that he shouldn't kill, even though it made absolutely no sense because Superman does not kill because he feels like he'd be imposing his will on a god,
exactly,
on as a god on humans, and he does not want to do that. But Zod is on his level, so it makes perfect sense that he would kill Zod.
That's an interesting explanation. Okay.
Right? And Batman has his own other reasons for not killing, although I would argue Batman kills people off screen all the time. You can't maim people, break ankles, give neck fractures. People are in a coma for probably the rest of their lives after dealing with Batman. But nobody cares about that. It's just because Christopher Nolan made it real popular that he has this one rule, and now everybody goes along with it.
Yeah, these guys are already working a hard job. Now they don't got legs anymore. I mean, he's supposed to collect for the mob.
Pays people to stay silent. That's why he doesn't kill anybody. He just pays them off.
Yeah,
I know. The non-speaking contract. You know what? My problem with it is in the movies at least, I feel like they can't decide where they want to go with these superheroes. Are they gods and their ideals? Because if that's the case, you don't have to humanize them as much.
Right.
But if you want to make them a human being and give them these different emotions and real world scenarios, they're just not doing a good job with it. I mean, I'll take Homelander any day right now over what they're presenting me with, Cavell and everything.
Yeah.
So and I don't know if that's intentional or there's just so many different voices telling them to try to fit
you
this in with that.
Supporting you in the chat.
Listen, I get it, and I get what you mean when you say it's all good. Wonder Woman 1984 wasn't good, but
wow.
I think we can admit that. I think we can admit that now. Not that we don't love the actors.
He went after your movie.
That's not my movie. That's Capital's movie.
At the end of it, I mean, that was cool, but
if you want a spicy take, I'd argue that Zack Snyder has done better with Wonder Woman than Patty Jenkins has.
Interesting.
And I'll tell you,
well,
I said, folks. No, I mean, because I think the first Wonder Woman was great.
Yeah.
But it fell apart in the third act. right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
And I think that Wonder Woman. We took it to the try making more.
Bro, you hit a nerve.
I hope that's not towards us and towards whoever else is in touch.
Just kidding. We love all creators, and we recognize it's an impossible job to try to tell the human story.
Absolutely,
exactly.
Human
but
condition.
some people do
better than
a
others.
more relatable job than others.
No, but
when there's not money behind telling them what they can say and not say, put on screen.
But again, I think all of this is subjective, right? So it's just sort of kind of one man's opinion, and I'm sure there are movies that Vincent has seen in his life that he didn't like. There's things we all like. I like a lot of terrible
things you don't like. Yeah, you're right.
I've watched too many Roger Moore movies that I've enjoyed, the Bond Moore movies. So I thought Wonder Woman 84 was okay. I was like, I can't watch a Roger Moore James Bond movie and like it. It'd be too hard on Wonder Woman 84.
I have to agree with your logic. Okay.
I totally agree though with the first Wonder Woman movie, the final act. I think became very conventional, and it had been such an interesting story up until
thing blows up in the sky.
Yeah,
like that's. Marvel is famous for that too. I'm not like ragging on DC.
I kind of thought the villains in Wonder Woman 84 were pretty cool. I know people didn't like the cheetah fight. I didn't really like the cheetah fight, but I just thought it was just something I hadn't seen in a superhero movie before. I liked the way he was sort of just creating chaos. Those chaos wizard type villains, who's got all the power.
The only problem was that it was such a waste of a villain. Because now, if you tied her cheetah to this guy, then there's no cheetah.
Right.
In one line, though, like, whatever. Now there is.
But what I mean is, I think Wonder Woman's introduction just to us on film through Zack Snyder and BVS was amazing.
Yeah,
right?
He did a great job.
Saving grace of that movie. And if you look at the Snyder cut of Justice League, that one bank scene, to me, in terms of showcasing what her because my problem with Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 1984 is, what is Wonder Woman's power set really, other than this is what needs to happen because of the scene. Right? I feel like Zack Snyder kind of showcased her power set into a tangible thing. And to me, that's more interesting, right? Because everything is like a verisimilitude for me, right? You set the world up, you tell me the parameters, now play by those rules, right? But if we're saying Wonder Woman can fly, she can't fly, she has an energy force field, what are we doing with her, right? So we're hitting the lasso and we're swinging on lightning. Like what? I don't know.
As it looked, I was like, "What is this?"
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, what are the confines? What's the power set?
It's her superpower.
Her superpower is anything, right?
Exactly. She has anything power. She can do whatever. She can
do whatever the writers write her to do. All right, so
I think that's a pretty fair critique.
True.
To be honest, yeah.
Now that we've gotten to know our geeky friends.
Oh yes.
That wasn't weird.
Ignore the fact that we're 30 minutes into.
Well, sometimes when you have
and you guys see that Eternals movie yet?
I have.
Yeah.
No.
Real quick.
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I liked it.
It's on in now, man.
I give it an 8 out of 10.
My people in the comic community are giving it much more thumbs up than thumbs down. I just haven't been able to get out of my house.
I don't know. I feel like the critics have just been waiting for like a chink in the armor that is Kevin Feige in the MCU, and they were like, "This is our opportunity. We think there's some oversaturation there with Disney Plus. Let's go after it." I think it was a pretty good movie, and it proves once again Thanos was right, and you'll understand that after you watch the movie.
That's funny.
Thanos was always right. I don't know where.
No, but I mean,
Yeah, I didn't know that was
hold on a minute.
controversial.
Hold on a minute. Like, if you thought he was right before, he's even more right now. That's
Wow.
it. That's all I'm
Oh,
saying.
great, wonderful. So, can we just go back to eliminating it? I don't think we can say that on any platform actually without getting blocked.
Yeah. So anyway, so that was good.
But I agree with Thanos.
All right, guys. Now that we've finished geeking out, let's start with BattleQuestComics. Drew, tell them who you are, what you do, what's your story. Why should we buy Nomad?
Boy, why should you buy Nomad?
What is?
Because it's
Nomad?
better than Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's well, I'll tell you. So I run BattleQuestComics, and Nomad the Unconquerable is our first title. And boy, I if you like things that are awesome, you just like Nomad the Unconquerable, right? I mean, I don't.
There you go.
You know, I think that Nomad is a story that taps into this idea of you know, at what point in time will you just will not be broken, you will not bend, you will not yield, you will not surrender. You might be defeated, but you'll never be taken alive. You know, and I think that Nomad the Unconquerable deals with that type of energy, that type of a story. And it's Nomad the Unconquerable is a sword and sorcery versus alien invader series that we've been building for a couple of years now. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Right on. Yeah, and Nomad essentially he melds with the amulet of a moon goddess, and he wields the ability to turn the moonlight into weapons. And so it's pretty. It's basically, you know, his spiritualism and his tribal weaponry are pitted against militarism and you know, advanced alien technology. And yeah, the books are drawn by a couple of role-playing game professionals. Aaron McConnell does the pencils, and Lee Moyer does the paints.
Nice.
I should tell you, I'm constantly looking at the Everborn, and I'm saying, what can we do to one up this guy, because he's crushed it over here. But yeah, and it's the first of a couple of books that we're going to make. Actually, I'm talking to Diamond next Friday, so we'll be going out to stores nationwide in 2020.
You can try. You heard what happened to them today.
I did. I heard they had a setback. They had a setback. So
that is great, man. We I told you, I ran into you on New York Comic Con. I saw your stuff. You had a lady there who was doing an amazing spiel, and I passed by and it caught my attention. And I was like, I got to come back here and talk to them about this, because it sounds fantastic. This thing hits a lot of notes. I do love the fact that one of the covers that you were showcasing has that epic feel to it, you know, and it really shows off where this is. And who does sci-fi fantasy together anymore? And lately it's more, well, here's your sci-fi and here's your fantasy. Who's going to mix this stuff up together?
Yeah, you know, I just grew up with all of those wonderful movies and cartoons that were inspired by the success of Star Wars. And it was so funny because those stories, those movies, they were all made by these brilliant thinkers, you know. And they were just like, what is this? Star Wars? Okay, well, let's make something that could make some money. And it ended up just being, we got these great stories like Krull, or gosh, Beast, you know, Excalibur is not an example of that, but that's just this great movie that came out when I was very, very young, that really inspired me. So I wanted to tell stories kind of like that, right? So that's it's not an epic quest unless the hero is fighting the villain on the edge of a cliff.
Exactly.
So, yeah, and we went with Tom Orzechowski, who is the letterer of the Nomad universe, and he did the classic run on the X-Men. He describes Nomad as colossal fantasy. He said he's never quite seen a type of fantasy world that has these types of rules, where you have really big themes mixed with a real sadness and loss and heroism and love and family. But at the same time, you know, you have gods and aliens and dimensions, and hopefully, when all hope seems lost, characters take actions that get them out of jeopardy, which earns the high regard of the reader. But I you know, there are you know, some things Nomad goes through where he's more successful, and some things he goes through where he's less successful. I mean, were you guys ever He-Man fans? Do we have Masters of the Universe?
Yeah,
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So I thought that Nomad was kind of a Masters of the Universe tribute world, which is where it started, but it took kind of a life all of its own the more that we told it. But so if there's He-Man who protects Castle Grayskull from the forces of Skeletor, then Nomad protects the Aki City from the dreaded Boar Armada. You know what I mean? And then we have a sorceress who becomes kind of our Mumra and our Skeletor character. And I just think Nomad is just a giant armada of awesome, you know, like swooping into stores, hopefully nationwide in, you know, 2022, 2023. And like I said, it'll be the first of several, you know, stories that we're going to put out there.
I can see it's on Comixology. Yep. And like I told you, when I saw this cover, it has that feeling of the classic D&D books, you know, that we grew up with. You know, it also has that feel of the classic D&D worlds that we would play in.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And I'm the sort of person when I like those kind of D&D graphics where it's like it could go one way or it could go the other, right? Like the hero is running into the dungeon, they're surrounded by their enemies, the witch lord is up on their throne with the secret weapon that's going to destroy the kingdom if the hero can't get it. What's going to happen, right? Well, it's up to you, dear player. You know, so I was hoping that Nomad would have covered, and BattleQuest in general would feature stories that would be kind of right at that moment where it could go one way or the other.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is your initial release. So I'm guessing that you are going to take BattleQuestComics in a certain direction. What's the future you're envisioning for BattleQuestComics?
Well, I'd like to just make really good stories for now. You know, that's just first and foremost. Make really strong stories. Make a little arsenal of strong stories, and try to level up every year and go from there.
That's a good quest right there.
Yeah, you know, that's kind of I don't know what else I can do right now, but that, you know, like just strive for self-improvement and strive to keep telling good stories and reach out to new collaborators and hopefully hire Steven to come write for us, you know, and maybe he'll give me a shot because I'm a huge fan of his work, actually. So I didn't know you were doing this show today, man.
I didn't know you were doing this show.
There you go. You popped up.
I love the fact that you two know each other, and you know it's so funny because I was sitting there going, I have this feeling these guys know each other.
No, I'm humbled to be able to do this podcast with you, Steven. So right on.
Thank you. So
and you two are both our picks from New York Comic Con, or two of our picks from New York.
And we met at New York Comic Con a few years back.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah, and I was I was on my way out, and I stopped at all of the tables that I thought were doing something cool, and that's why I learned about Nomad, and I got the first couple of books, and I was just kind of giving away my books because at that time I was just there as a fan. But this year was my first year as a vendor, and it was so cool to kind of be among the people who are further along in the journey that I am. So like the last time, I had to come and find Drew's booth, and I had to give him the latest books that we had with the hardcover and everything, just to you know.
The beautiful hardcover book, by the way, that turned out great.
Yeah, I'm really proud of that.
So here's a question for you, BattleQuestComics,
Yes,
because Everborn, you know, his thing started off as a video game, which is so cool to me. Have you considered going in that video game direction? Because I feel like this lends itself to video games.
Yeah, I would like to have an app based on a BattleQuest comic that you could play a character. That's one of those things I would like to level up in the months, the days, the years to come, is to get to that level.
That's pretty good. Again, one of the reasons why I wanted both of you on is you both have this RPG feel, you know, this classic feel of the games we played when we were younger. And what caught my attention when I went past the Everborn booth was the fact that I was like, wait, this feels like a video game. And this was before I knew anything about it. And I passed by the booth a couple of times. I'm like, I got to go talk to this guy. So you caught my attention, and I was like, I got to go talk to him. I got to get him on the show. We got to talk about what he has over here, because you were right. The art for these books is amazing. You know, Everborn books look amazing. They have a beautiful art to them, and as you look through them and as you see the story, you feel that video game feel in the book itself, which I find is hard to accomplish. So, Everborn, I just built you up a bit, but tell the audience who you are, what you do, what's your story.
Yeah, so this has been this whole thing has been a roller coaster for me, but a very slow moving roller coaster. I started this journey in, I don't know, 20, like maybe a decade ago, right? Like I had just had this idea. I wanted to make a game, and I knew nothing about making a game. I didn't even know how to code back in 2010. And so I just started going on YouTube and watching tutorials, learning how to do things. I made a couple of games. They were like versions of Pong. One of them was called Star Tennis or whatever. And I did that just to teach myself how to code. But what I really wanted to make was like one of my favorite games, which was a 2D platformer from the 16-bit era. And so I started work on a game that I called Ariel's World. And that was in 2012. I started on that. And 3 years later, in 2015, I released that game, Ariel's World, right? It was all done by me. I had, I had a really good guy doing the animation, but all the coding and the game stuff was done by me. And it just started out like I said, look, I want you to told the artist, I need a mix of Sonic and Mario. I need Mario's cuteness, but with Sonic's attitude. And we did a bunch of I gave them some terrible sketches, and they came back, and we ended up with this guy you see here, Ariel. I can't see because the camera's over. But and so I made a game and I released it. I was very proud of myself or whatever. And I started working on a sequel. And I said, okay, because it started out as like a tribute to Mario and Sonic. I said, okay, your uncle gets kidnapped. That's what happens in the first game, but that's it. There's no story to it. It's like how Peach keeps getting kidnapped by Bowser and Mario has to go get her. Although I think Peach and Bowser have something going on, and Mario just doesn't want to accept the facts. But that's a conversation for another show, I suppose. Now,
got to come from somewhere.
Hey, you're not wrong.
Runs up at his place a lot.
Exactly. I think Mario should just take a hint. But so I start writing a bunch of notes because I want to give it a story. I said, well, who's his uncle? Why did his uncle get kidnapped? And that sort of turned into backstories and maps and kingdoms and all those things. And then I realized that there was something of a story here. And there were two things I always wanted to do as a kid. It was tell stories and make video games, right? There's a past version of me where I wanted to be a film director. And so I put that all together and I sort of said, well, since there's a story here, let me try to tell it. And because I am, I'm sort of notorious for biting off more than I can chew. I decided it wouldn't just be one series; it would be an entire world, like an MCU kind of thing, right? Where it's all connected. So, what ultimately Everborn is, it is 4 series, all telling the same story, but following a different character and telling it from their vantage point. And so right there in that picture you see there, you see an Ariel and an old man Baltimore. And then the picture you had before showed a young man Baltimore, because that's Prince of Arcadia. So our 4 series are Ariel's Adventure, Prince of Arcadia, Now the Redlands, which we have the Kickstarter for. We'll talk about that in a second. And then the fourth and final POV series is the Remnant, which is coming early next year. And that will build out our 4 series that is the foundation of the story we're trying to tell, because the story itself, my style of storytelling is very character driven, right? I want the lore to be something that is more in the background, whereas you're more interested in these characters and their day-to-day lives. And I'm not talking about slice of life. I'm just saying the characters are so interesting that each of them in their own right is their own lead. And the lore in the background will bring everyone together by the end. But if I do my job correctly, you're so invested in these characters that the lore and the world-ending event is a secondary thing to you.
I think when you were talking to me at Comic-Con, that's what caught my attention, was what you were just discussing, was this epic feel to the story where you like, I see where this is, I see where this is, I see where this is, this leads to this, that leads to that, and when you're showing me the books, it was like, well, if you get this, then the story for this is over here, and then the beginning for that is over there. And I was like, the interconnection was just amazing. I know people do their series and they do connect it, but I do feel like there was a more organic feel to your connections.
Yeah, there is, and everything is the order that things are happening is also very purposeful. Mm-hmm. And I'll just talk a little bit about those connections that I explained to you at Comic-Con. So, like I said, we've got our 4 series. So the sort of nexus of everything is Ariel's adventure. That is, Ariel is the one that connects everyone. He is what the lore says is that he is the promised, right? He is the one who will put an end to the war of all war that will be brought on by the Everborn, which is, we named the whole series after the big bad, which is Magnus. He's the Everborn. So something is going to happen, and Ariel is going to put an end to it. But Ariel starts off on his journey because his uncle Baltimore is kidnapped. Now, he has been raised by his uncle, who's not really his uncle. That's a little bit of a spoiler, but it's late. Hopefully, we'll keep that between us. But his uncle is kidnapped by Magnus, and he wants to get him back. And but his uncle, who is a simple blacksmith, is actually the rightful heir to the throne of Arcadia. And he has this whole backstory, and that's where the Prince of Arcadia series comes in. And Ariel goes on his journey, and what sets him off is, yes, his uncle gets kidnapped, but the last thing Baltimore says to Ariel is, find the Cassandra, right? What does that mean? Ariel will have to find that out. But who the Cassandra is Karma from the Redlands, which we were just showing on the screen there. Yeah, so her in the middle. And she's got her own things going on. She is a princess by day and a bandit by night. And she is leading her crew to systematically target allies of the king. The only trouble is her crew does not know that she is one of the royals who they hate so much. And she is trying to get back at the king because he killed her parents to get on the throne. And but he raised her as his own daughter. So she's trying to get her revenge, but she's using her friends to get back at him. And that's sort of exactly why they hate the royals. Now, while all of that's going on, she's having these visions that she thinks are nightmares, but she's seeing the end of the world. And right at the center of that is, she doesn't know who he is, but there's a boy. And the boy that she's seeing in her, what she thinks is dreams, is Ariel. So now Ariel has to find her. She wants to know why she's having these visions, and then they will meet somewhere later on. But that's a thing that will happen. But the interesting part, I hope, is this revenge and the double life that she's trying to live.
Right.
And that's what I mean by the characters come first, right? So those larger things are in the background, but you should be so invested in Karma and whether she will get her revenge or whether her friends or the king will find out this double life that she's leading, that the whole end of the world thing with the Everborn is happenstance, right? And it's the same thing with I guess Ariel's story is kind of that big, leading to something, but really for him it is kind of, I want to get my uncle back, and it gets bigger from there. And Prince of Arcadia is just really like Game of Thrones, and it kind of shows you, well, you have these warring houses, and it's plots, politics, and war, and that really tells you the story of how this prince, who had all the wealth and everything and armies at his back, how did he end up living in hiding with it to end up with this, trying to raise this kid, right? And that's how it all connects. And the other series that we have coming soon, I think we just wrapped art, and now we have to go to colors and lettering, is the Remnant, and that is coming with its own fantasy novel, and that will be in around March, and that kind of tells the other side of the main conflict, which is Saras versus Paladins, which is the magic users versus the non-magic users, and it shows what their life is like and how they were able to bring about the Everborn, which is Magnus, who will lead to that war of all wars that Ariel's supposed to stop. So it's all connected, but they all got their own stuff going on, if that makes sense.
It's so funny. Like I said, you can feel the game as you tell the story. You can see the game as you tell the story, and I feel like part of that, to me personally, from a person who plays D&D, is that I'm seeing myself in this world as this stuff is happening, playing my character while this whole thing is happening, and being part of the world. And I feel like that's what you do so well. You actually bring the player, which is the reader, into the world, and you let them experience it as if they're playing the game.
Yes, they're I like to call it boots on the ground writing.
Right.
I'm not preaching to you about all this whole look at this world I built and look at the intricacies. It is we're living a day in the life. Like we don't do any inner monologues anywhere in any books, because I'm very big on show don't tell.
Right.
And even the captions is just to, like, the original versions of these books had no captions, but people had to fight me to put them in. But those captions are just kind of to explain something that because I live in this world every day, things that I thought were so obvious that were not obvious to anyone but me. So I had to explain certain things in these captions. It's like in Prince of Arcadia chapter 4, Baltimore challenges Godwin, who's the warring house. That's House Pain versus House Blackwind. He says, I challenge you to a contest of fates, right? What the hell is a contest of fates, right? And so I kind of had to put a caption in there explaining that a contest of fates is basically a 1v1 on the battlefield. So if I challenge you to a contest of fates and you agree to it, we will fight. But that and the winner of that battle decides the day. The only problem is that contract does not take effect till our swords meet.
Right. So
you could say, yes, I accept your challenge, but if you get killed before you get to me, means nothing. We're still going to fight.
Right.
So there's some things that happen around that, and I had to explain some of that. Or just like these guys that are really respected that no one can touch. They're called the Rabbinians, and they're basically like the postal service. They deliver messages because there's no cell phone. It's fantasy, right? But every kingdom respects the work that they do because it is how they pass messages. So I could be at war with you if you send a message through a Rabinian, I have to let him walk straight through my kingdom, and no one will use them as Trojan horses. It is like sacrilege to do anything to them. And why that is, why did I write it that way? I just thought it was interesting to have untouchable people in the middle of warring houses.
That is interesting because it starts you to question, all right, so why are they like this? What's the story behind them? You know, again, it leads from point A to point B, and it is like playing, you know, a role-playing game, because your character will be like, okay, I need to know what's going on over there because I want to find out why they're untouchable.
Yes, exactly. And we will like explain that later on, but because it's not later on yet, and each one of my books takes almost 6 months to do, I got to tell you now, because it won't really be a story point. That's another thing. I want you to get the world by just watching the characters interact with each other. It's actually why I didn't like the Dune movie that Denis Villeneuve just did, because there was a lot of telling and not enough showing. But again, maybe a conversation for another day.
You guys
isn't it funny how no matter what choice you make as a storyteller, someone's always going to say, you know, you could have done the opposite too. You know,
absolutely.
It's so interesting how it's like what you were saying about that when you said the name of what that challenge was. Like, as a comic reader, as a fantasy guy, I knew what you were talking about. I didn't know what the rules were specifically, but my own mind could make up what the rules were, and that was good enough, right? You know what I mean? But someone would tell you, oh, no, you got to put a little aside, a novelistic aside to the reader to let them know more of what you're talking about. And it's like you could have done that. You could have not done that. And
well, I mean, I just spent a half hour telling Zack Snyder what he should have done with BBS.
Exactly.
So, you got to take the goods with the bads.
Well, it's a good thing you explained it, because when you said Contest of Fates, I wasn't thinking of a one-on-one duel. I was thinking of like some sort of mage craft battle where like they would use sort of like the fates to decide who's right and who's wrong.
Yeah, it's that concept, but these are two. That's a whole thing in the world where you have, Seraphs and Paladins, and the Seraphs are the ones who can. Okay, so the two guys who are having that fight with each other, they're both Paladins, so they wouldn't be able to do that. But fun fact, and this is all in the opening pages of Ariel's adventure. This is a world where the gods just left. Like, they used to walk on Earth, and they just one day disappeared, didn't explain anything to anyone, and the only one they left behind was Magnus, and he has no idea why, and he thinks that the gods left because the humans got free will and they were no longer worshiping the gods. And so his goal is, in order to bring the gods back, I need to subjugate the humans again, right? Because they need to worship the gods, and I'm the only god here, so they need to worship me. And once they are subjugated again, maybe that will bring back my family.
Interesting.
Right? Probably shouldn't have said that yet, but you know, we won't get to that for years, so no one will remember this. And so they basically there were sort of humans or paladins that they've kind of gave their powers to, but they're kind of like demigods, and so those are the ones who can still use magic. It's not like you study and you're a mage. It is you are of a bloodline of the gods for when they kind of mated with the non-magic users, and the people who are left behind can tap in to the power of whoever their sire was, right? So if it was the god of wind, then you're a wind whisperer, right? If it was the god of fire, then you are a fire starter, or so it kind of goes like that. That's how your magic works. You don't study it. You are just born with it, and you have a specific power that relates to your bloodline.
You guys have both crafted an amazing universes for your books. It's well thought out. It seems like you guys have actually sat there, planned out the worlds. Almost like you're dungeon masters, if you want to put it that way, because you know what's going on in your world. You actually have all the questions answered, or if they're not answered, you're leading in that direction, or you're trying to get the audience to go in that direction. Both your books stood out to me because they actually stand out in that way. They feel like either I'm playing D&D or I'm playing a video game.
I would also, I feel that one thing we both did too is we really tried to make sure our graphics were well above industry standard. Or you know what I mean? And so taking the time to maybe there's a lot of publishers out there that have 50 books. And so I think my goal was to do the opposite, which is to have less books and higher quality product, because people's bookshelves are pretty backed up, So, and maybe just the time that was taken to invest in the art, which simply gave us extra time to focus more on those story components you're talking about.
Let me ask you a question. Do your artists ever catch up with your written scripts?
Yeah, they do.
Go ahead.
No. I was saying, I am right now, I'm only a few pages ahead of the artist on Ariel's Adventure Chapter 2, because I think I wrote to 17, and I think he's on page 6 now. So I have to get him. I'm gonna have to get him pages soon, but he does 5 pages a week. 5 pages every 2 weeks. He does 10 pages a month. But these books, you're right, Drew. It's 6 months for me to do one book.
Yeah.
Right. And it's hard for the person that the reader that catches up to you and they have to wait 6 months for the next chapter. But I remember when I started this journey, it was just Prince of Arcadia chapter 1. Right now, with the Redlands, that puts us at 6 chapters into this thing. Right. So as you go and as people come on and as we grow, the way I think of it is, by the time the large audience is there, there'll be enough content to where, it's steadily coming. So right now there's 4 series and I have 2 artists that are alternating between the series. So they'll do, the guy that did Ariel's Adventure Chapter 1, he did the Redlands. The Redlands is done, and now we're transitioning to Ariel's Adventure Chapter 2. And then he'll come back to Redlands Chapter 2. And the Prince of Arcadia artist, he did chapters 1 through 4, and now he just finished or has almost finished the art on the Remnant Chapter 1. So between the two of them, I have a cadence of a release every 3 months. Now, if I can, and I'm very selective with the artists that I bring on, but if I can bring on 2 more artists, then we can have a chapter every 2 months.
Interesting.
Right. And that's part of this, why it's kind of hard to, or why the artists are catching up with me. Because when you go into, if you choose this as a business, it's not all the creative stuff. It's the business side of it.
Exactly.
You have to set your business stuff up. But like Drew, you're talking to, you're talking about the distribution chain. I'm figuring out how I can get this Kickstarter to go where I need it to go. And then what's the next convention I'm going to get into. Mm-hmm. And then when I'm further down the line, then I'm starting to think about, okay, distribution that is bigger than people doing direct sales at my website. And all those things are just mind-numbing sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's like you have to take away from the creation part of it to do that stuff. And there's no manual for this stuff, right? You think that there was, but everything, and I'm sure the same is for you, Drew, everything I'm doing here, I'm just figuring it out and talking to people and say, well, how'd you do this? What printer did you use for that? What shows are good for you? What is a good markup? All those things are just things you gotta kind of figure out. And there's really nobody to tell you other than the other people that you meet that are kind enough to share it. Because there's a lot of people that'll be like, well, I got here, the door's closed behind me, I'm not telling you anything. But
there's a lot of gangsterism in the comic book industry. There's a, if you want to participate, someone at the top wants their cut.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And so like a lot of your other publishers or your friends or your other collaborators, it's really someone could say, oh, why don't you go ask this person and learn a little bit about what they did? And it's like, well, how do you know they're not going to lead you down the garden path the wrong direction? You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of industrial sabotage that goes on where you ask someone to get some, and so it really becomes kind of you make a mistake and then you fix that mistake and then you just keep doing that over and over and over again until you've made so many mistakes that you don't make as many mistakes anymore.
Or this is the other thing, right? Something that I've always been very strong about this, because there's a certain way that and people have told me different ways, like your story would be more marketable if you did X or Y. And I don't disagree with that, but I know the story that I'm telling, right? And it is important to me that I can tell that story in the way I want. And while I do and am open to all the advice I can, there's certain things that I need to be in control of. So I say all that to say, one of the mistakes you can make early on is saying, hey, this person has a lot of access, or this person is promising to get me this huge audience. And before you know it, you sold your baby away. Or you sold a percentage of your baby to where you maybe can't control it the way you want, or maybe they're making all the money while you are still struggling. So it is almost as sometimes it is better to do the hard work, even though it may be a years-long process, to build an audience to where you're partnering with people as opposed to signing away, your firstborn child.
No, well, so for me, I actually had someone in film and television approach, and they wanted to take the title basically, and they wanted to restructure it for film and TV. And their idea to restructure it turned out to be completely the exact opposite of what it was that I had built. And what they were really after was the name. They wanted the name, and then they wanted they basically wanted to build their story around the name that we put out there. And the reason that they wanted to do that was because then when it goes to market, they control the IP for the most part, right? Like their name is put on all those story points that an executive or a producer or someone is greenlighting. So what I did in that situation is I learned everything I could about what direction they wanted to take the story. And I just used that to strengthen the foundation of what I already had. And then I was like kind of meticulously taking that information and building something new with it at the same time, right? So eventually, it became clear to the story professional that this title I had built was not going to go that direction, but what we had been building could go another direction. You know what I'm trying to say? And we might not have the same title attached to it, but look, now we got two cool stories, right? And I'm audience building with my story, and I'm leveling up with my story. And then maybe if we get a little bit more traction in the market, look what we've got right? Like in the goodie bag,
Right.
right? We've got this story we've been building for a long time. And so that type of like, when you stay true to your spark, you heal yourself and you heal the world around you. You bring the people to you that you need to meet. And you essentially put yourself in that position where all of a sudden luck and opportunity collide. You know what I mean? And so
to your point, there's a great quote. I do not remember where I heard it, but it can take years and years of grinding to become an overnight success.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Most people look at what you've done and they go, "Oh my God, it was overnight," and you're like, "No, I've been working on this for 20 years. This is not overnight."
Right. and that is the thing. The way I look at it is, because this is largely this whole thing. Like, yeah, we've had one successful Kickstarter campaign, and we're in the middle of another one that seems successful. But I don't even go to Kickstarter until a book is already done.
Right.
Because I never want to have that risk of, oh, well, what if something doesn't go? Like I live by Murphy's Law, right? So
anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Right. So I wait till a book is done, and my Kickstarters are usually to cover printing, advertising, and fulfillment, really. And then everything else is just gravy to kind of pay myself back for whatever it costs to make the book. But it really, my Kickstarter campaigns and going to Comic-Con this year and next year and any other convention that I do, I am in the audience building phase, like you said, Drew. I'm in the fan acquisition stage,
exactly.
Right? Mm-hmm. And when I can get there, by the time the masses are ready to be onboarded and my overnight success is here, maybe I'm 20 chapters into each book. Who knows, right? But then there's enough story there to when Netflix comes banging down my door, because that's what everybody thinks is going to happen, right? When they come to the door and they say, "I want to tell you a story," well, here's the story. You can tell it, and I hope to God you don't catch up to me like they did with George R.R. Martin. But we are 6 chapters in, and I think of every series like a POV chapter in a Game of Thrones book, right? So it's all the same story, even though we're gonna have these 4 series. Right. But yeah, like I said, you gotta have the stomach for this business. I don't know of anyone who came into it that made one book. I mean, you hear about that stuff, but I'm saying all the people that I've met, they've been doing it for years. They've been invested.
So do I have an interesting story about like a one-shot success?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the movie Cowboys and Aliens?
I do remember that.
Okay. So do you know the story of how that got made?
Daniel Craig, right? Cowboys.
Right now, so Daniel Craig and Harrison Ford. Did you know the story of how that comic book got flipped into the movie so quick?
I do not.
Okay. So what happened was there was a guy in Hollywood, and he had his he was a producer, he was a writer or whatever, and he had his comic book, Cowboys and Aliens, right? That's his big comic book. So he had self-published it, and what he did was he printed something like 400,000 copies of Cowboys and Aliens. And then what happened was when he went into previews with his book, he called the retail stores and he told them, if they order a pallet of my book, I will give it to you for free. So what gets like recorded when you're selling a comic book, right, is what goes out to retail. Wow. That's what people see as this. No one knows, right? So what happened was that suddenly 400,000 copies of Cowboys and Aliens went out the door overnight. Okay. And so then that month it popped up that Cowboys and Aliens, Batman Superman, cowboys and aliens, you know. And so he took that sales record, which was really just him giving his book away for free, to the studio, and the studio greenlit it. Now, he was, in fairness to him, he had worked quite hard in Hollywood for a long time to get to that point. But that's an example of someone who took advantage of a business opportunity, made a shrewd decision, and he jumped to the top overnight. But where did he have to go after that? Once you get to the top, right? You got nowhere to go but down. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So it's like the journey that you're on, right? And people ask me that all the time, like, well, where do you see yourself going or whatever? And I'm like, man, I like the journey that I'm on. I don't want to be at the top all of a sudden. You know what I mean? I got nowhere to go but down. I like the slow climb that I'm on right now.
I honestly look at myself and a lot of us in the stage that we're in. I'm just like an indie band who's, playing dive bars, making one fan at a time. Yep. You know what I mean? Until you got a hit record on the radio, right? But right now, like it is honing the craft, and I am becoming better as a storyteller with every chapter that we do, right? And I'm learning more, and I'm building a team of people.
Yeah.
And like I said, by the time the numbers are here and the fans are here and people are cosplaying Everborn stuff, we'll have enough content. And it won't matter that it took 6 months to do, one chapter, right?
Yeah.
Because we'll be 10 and 20 chapters in.
Exactly.
And they won't have time to read them. So.
Well, we love the hero's journey here. So, and that's exactly what you guys are talking about. It's the process of becoming who you are as you take the hero's journey, and it's an amazing process. And you're right, if you skip the hero's journey, you might end up on the villain's path,
or you might end up with Justice League.
Exactly.
When you don't want to do the pre-work to get to the Justice League, you just jump right to the end.
A society cynical of the hero's journey ends up with Justice League.
Exactly. There you go.
That's what ends up happening, right?
That's exactly what ends up happening, because if you don't take the journey seriously, or if you take shortcuts, stuff happens.
Well, and why be cynical about something so important? And so I do think that there are throughout time some examples where heroes' journeys have been like you could reinterpret Beowulf to be like Grendel was really wronged. You could do that, where there's a culture who, to them, the hero went across the sea and fought monsters, and I could see some better understanding of where those people were coming from and things like that. But at the same time, the deeper meaning of the hero's journey is simply to become someone who can be in service to your civilization.
Exactly.
Did you know what I'm trying to say? Right. Yeah. And like you had said about Superman, you aspired to be Superman in the same sense that Camelot is our ideal of the city on the hill that we should all be pushing towards. You know what I mean? Like, what if all of a sudden we looked at Camelot, we were like, that Camelot, boy, I tell you, that King Arthur, he was no good. You know what I mean? And what if that's how we saw everything?
Exactly.
It doesn't mean that you can't, take a deep dive into King Arthur and get into the nitty gritty of it and what did the story really mean? But the deeper meaning that Camelot is something that we should all be pushing towards. We need that as
Zack Snyder's.
Yeah, Zack Snyder's
the
Camelot.
Round Table.
Yeah, Zack Snyder's Knights of the Round Table, right? Or
oh my God, no! Don't say it'll happen.
Man, you guys live in a completely different universe than I am.
All right,
you want to stay away from Camelot.
All right, so before we go, and before I give you your final words, let's look at the Kickstarter so we can actually get it out there. Hold on. You, Everborn, go ahead, talk while I put your Kickstarter up.
Oh yeah, man. So yeah, we got this Kickstarter going on. It's for the third series, the Redlands. I kind of told you about Karma and her journey in the double life that she's living, and she is going to meet up with Ariel in the future, and somehow Baltimore from Prince of Arcadia knows who she is, where she is, and what she is, and ultimately by the time we get to the end of this journey, and I mean the Everborn journey, she is going to have to become who she is, and Ariel is going to have to become what he is in order to save the world. And like I said, this is a chapter 1. It is we had like I said, the goal is really set for printing, but we're moving towards stretch goals now. And what we're doing with stretch goals is if we hit the first one, which is 6,500, we are going to upgrade everyone for free to hardcover copies of the. Can you play that animation?
This one? Sure. I was going to ask you if you wanted me to play the trailer.
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, sure. Okay, here we go.
With this one, yeah. We did a whole animation just to show people we were taking this thing seriously. Young man Baltimore, the prince, the warlord, old man Baltimore, the grumpy uncle. There's Karma, Mario, Captain Blue. We'll meet him later. Heinrich and Lionel. Alex Ravenwood, he's going to be the lead of the 4th series that rounds out. Those are the heralds of the Everborn.
All right, where's my video game?
Shut up and take my money.
Exactly. I'm like, where's my video game? That's what I want.
Now, if you'll X this out, so that's basically like an animation we did for all of Everborn. But if you scroll up, and there's if you play that, you'll get the 30-second for this this series. This is an interesting. We got the projects we love that. A new kingdom. Princess by day, bandit by night. Visions of the future. And misspelled corrupt king. Worlds will collide.
Wow.
Redlands. So that's just me explaining.
I was gonna say we have you here, so we don't need this part.
Yes.
I was gonna say, how did we get 2 of him at the same?
I know.
Wait. He's wearing the same shirt. Too.
That's what I'm saying. It's a little embarrassing.
Oh man, that's just branding, man.
Shoot, we're lucky we have
branding.
2 different caps. If not, we would have had a serious problem.
I know, but they're both
Everborn.
Now there is one tier that I do want to tell everyone about. So we have this immortal tier, and every time we do a Kickstarter, that's the video game, by the way. If you want to play the second one, that's the first one we released that I told you we released in 2015. This is when I was working on the sequel. So you can play it if you want. People to see it's like a 2D platformer. Not that one, because that's the old one.
Oh my god, this feels so classic. Okay, that felt classic.
This has a little bit more of today's graphics.
Oh my god, this looks so crisp.
Yeah, look at that background.
Ooh.
Yeah, look at that background, yeah.
I did all of this, all the coding and everything myself.
Wow. And did you release this one?
This is not out yet, no.
I didn't think so. Okay. I was like, I would have remembered this.
I love you talking about Sonic earlier.
Yeah. You can feel it.
There's Karma.
Mm-hmm.
Too bad we can't just play the Green Hills music.
This is beautiful.
This is amazing, bro.
Thank you.
You know when you're gonna release this, or
I am trying to get, because I want to. This was actually developed for mobile, but I want to put it on the Switch and the Xbox and the PlayStation. So
I can see it. Yeah,
I'm trying to get a bigger budget together and increase the scope. So what I want it to look like. I don't know if you've played Ori. Ori in the Blind Forest or Ori in the Will of the Wisp.
I played Ori.
Yes.
I played
Okay.
Ori. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the scale of what I'm going for, what I want to go for. So that's going to take a larger team to do, but the foundation is there. It's just
it is. That's
trying to find the right art director and things.
That is an incredible foundation, bro.
Would you consider releasing this for PC as well, or?
Oh, I have 1,000%. It'll be released on PC.
Let's go.
you as you can see, you got us sold on it already.
Yeah, you can see right there. I love this picture because it shows like young man Baltimore looking into the future, old man Baltimore looking into the past.
Nice.
And then we see Ariel and Riley, and this is some pages from the series we're launching here. So that's the king that raised her that she's trying to get back at. That's her. That's her in rare form as a moonlighting as a bandit, robbing the king's allies. So she can weaken him to his enemies, and then it'll be time for her to strike.
Wow.
Those are some of the visions. See, Cassandra's in this world are like oracles. So she just thinks she's having good luck, but it's getting worse and worse. She's having these headaches, and she's seeing things before they happen.
The art is amazing.
Oh, we do something cool like this in every book where we draw. This is the cast. This is the team that put this whole thing together.
Oh, cool.
So we have like a funny pictures. This is bandits versus royals. That's me in the middle.
Who's the ref?
Who's the
ref?
Oh no, that's the artist. He's trying to tell everybody to stop. That's Mike Banting, so that you can see him there. It's pretty cool because the character artist and the background artist are husband and wife. That's Mike Banting and Sam Gunyan. So you can see
these are the rewards you were talking about, right?
Yeah. But there's one particular, if you scroll down to the bottom of these rewards here, these two, those are the two. So the immortal reward is gone. Someone took that.
Wow.
So but the thing is this, you get a 1-of-1 cover with this.
Nice.
And so you will be the only one with a cover. And because it comes with the previous one, this is the one that's left that I wanted to tell everyone about. The Everborn reward, basically, it gives you all the books, plus a t-shirt, plus a poster, but will also create a character for you and make you a character in the Everborn universe. And you'll get a speaking role in a future chapter of one of the books. And we did this for Ariel's adventure. So you can see it here. And that's why I said with the immortal tier, we will make that character and give them their own cover. Nice. But that one's gone because I can't give everybody a cover because then my cover artist will kill me, Philip Johnson. But there's still 9 slots left to have your own character created that will, and you'll get an executive producer credit on the book, but you'll have your character will or someone you want. Like a lot of people last time they got them for their
great
kids.
gift,
So they
especially
said,
with Christmas coming along. That'd be a great gift to give to somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, people did that for the Ariel's Adventure campaign. They said, I want to make my kid into a character in a comic, and then we made him, and now we just got to find a place to put him in future chapters. And the same thing here. So there's only 9 left of those. We sold 5 of them, I think, the last time. But I know more people wanted them when they realized what they were getting after they saw this one. So we put it at 10 slots this time. One of them's gone. We got about 26 days to go. So they'll probably all go this time. But that's the one I like to tell people about. But if you're not to go to is the next one right above that, which is Rightful Heir, or Theros. Now Theros is like you don't want any T-shirts, you don't want any posters, you just want to get up to the date with the story. And Theros gives you every book we've ever done. So you see Prince of Arcadia Ultimate Edition books 1 and 2. The Ultimate Edition is basically a trade of chapters 1 and 2. And another thing that we do, an Everborn chapter is about 60 pages plus. Any book we do. So we don't do 24-page comics. We do 60 pages. But so Prince of Arcadia Ultimate Edition book 1 and 2, those are chapters 1 and 2 put together, and then chapters 3 and 4 put together with bonus content added to it.
You got some good tiers here. You know, I can see why you wanted to show this one off, especially because, again, with Christmas coming along, which is another reason why I wanted you guys on the show, was because we were doing our Christmas picks, and you guys are, both your books are amazing. So, you know, this would be like a great gift to give to somebody right there.
Yeah, definitely. Is it possible for us to drop the link to this? Because some people may not have it. Drop it in the chat.
Yeah, sure. If go right ahead, like drop it right into the chat.
Well, I don't know that I can, but I did put it in the private chat.
I see it up here in the private chat. Yeah.
All right.
They won't let me comment from this thing into the.
Do not
Let's
worry.
See if I can, let's see if I can comment. Let's see. Last time I did this, it goes, no, you can't do that.
Okay.
Do not worry. I am on it.
All right. Looks like you let me do it, but do it. You do it too, Nat. Okay.
I do it. I do it now. I do multiple times.
I see it. It's going in. Yep.
There's 3.
Awesome. I appreciate that. But yeah, check this out. And like I said, if you're not interested in any of the stuff, Theros tier is the one you want because it will get you all the books we've ever produced.
There you go. And like I said, this is amazing. I love this Kickstarter. I love the fact that you got that video game there. And I'm just saying, get the game made.
Yeah, no, well, okay. I do want to tell you something about the video games that are planned.
Mm-hmm.
So each of the series is going to have their own game, right? Ariel's Adventure is a 2D platformer because I love Sonic and Mario growing up, right? Now, the Redlands is going to be a beat 'em up that is like Turtles in Time or Double Dragon, right?
Right.
Excuse me. The Remnant is going to be a top-down action RPG. Because I love Zelda. That is the first video game that I ever beat. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo. And Prince of Arcadia is going to be a turn-based RPG a la Phantasy Star or Final Fantasy. And I'm I'm very meticulous about that because Everborn, as its inception, is my love letter to the 16-bit era of gaming. That's where I became a gamer at. And so I want to use that. I want to use the story that I'm telling in the comic world to now also create my love letters to my favorite games of yesteryear.
Makes total sense to me.
2D platformer, top-down Zelda-style RPG, turn-based RPG, and a 4-player beat 'em up. So that's the roadmap. When it will come, I need more hours in the day, but it's on the way.
Need a bigger team, more hours. Come on.
Exactly.
So BattleQuest, what do we need to know as your final word here?
Yeah, that's great. I would actually recommend. Are you able to go up to the shop section on my website?
Oh, yeah, sure. Hold on.
Yeah.
You can keep talking though.
Yeah, so what I would ask if anyone is interested is to please go to the shop section and then click on the City of Empty Towers, which is the first. That's the origin of Nomad the Unconquerable, and you can either buy it digitally on Comixology. You can also buy it digitally on Amazon Kindle. They've recently upgraded. They have very pretty comic reader file on their Kindle, or you could get it paperback on Amazon. It's 127 pages. It's I think it's $20. And then if you like that book, or even if you hate it and you just want to support independent creators, I would ask that they go to the sequel to Nomad, which is The Cave of Broken Tombs. And if so, Nomad is Star Wars, that's our Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, and actually I'm really, really, really like this book is special to me. So you could get this one for paperback on Amazon for $25. You could get it digitally on Comixology for about $9. I think you get it for like $9 on Amazon Kindle as well.
Nice.
And that's a 175-page graphic novel. That one's a monster.
I gotta say, like I told you at the New York Comic Con, your covers are beautiful, man, and they have that classic feel to them.
Yeah. So we really wanted to say, okay, Nomad the Unconquerable. These are the moments when it could go one way or the other, you know. Right. And that actually is a kind of, I don't want to say it's a trope, but it's where when you're dealing with characters who have kind of primal human urges, you know what I mean? It's like that's sort of what the genre is all about. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's like survival. Survival exactly. is like what's up. So and then actually that book, The Cave of Broken Tombs, also as a trade paperback has the Star of Fallen Foes, which is the Star of Fallen Foes in our original publication was the sequel to The Cave of Broken Tombs, but you can get them all here on a 175-page book. We then will have a Mech War book coming out in 2022. It's going to be kind of like Mad Max. It's not up there yet, but it's coming in 2022. And then there's going to be a mermaid book. There's going to be a book that's got kind of an environmental message that's coming out. That's The Art of Ith. I'm going to
tell you, this is just beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah.
Hey, you know what your covers remind me of? Like the Frank Frazetta Conan stuff.
There you go.
Yeah.
Like really.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss.
Thank you so much. And you know what's funny is I was never a big fan of sword and sorcery. I was really never a big fan of that genre. I didn't really understand it. It just
that's so funny.
It was just this world that we were building and all. And I began to understand it the more I learned about it, and I began to really appreciate it. But yeah, that's Cassell, the Warrior Moon, and she is actually Nomad's partner, and she comes to him to give him a son who he can take with him on his journey to battle the aliens that the moon goddess Tyon wants to be defeated. But Cassell has her own backstory to be revealed if you're interested in reading Nomad the Unconquerable. And so those are and the Art of Planet Ith just has a whole bunch of art that sheds light into Nomad and his world. And when we go into stores, these art that you see, they're going to be the covers for our books. So if we have a 127-page trade paperback, that's going to get broken up into 5 22-page books. Then that's going to be the plan. And it's just and then I will be running a Kickstarter in 2022. I'm not sure what it is yet, but I'll be running that at the same time we have books going out to stores. And I think that's probably. Oh, and then the last one is coming soon. It's the what is it called? It's the Sea of Silent Souls,
right?
Where Nomad will battle a Titan from the cosmos known as the Godslayer. So. Yeah. Coming soon.
There you go. This looks beautiful.
Thanks for saying so. Appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
Again, like I said, you guys caught my attention while I was running through the conventions. And, I had to have you on the show because, it just, I love fantasy. I love this whole D&D feeling. I love this whole RPG feeling. And that's why today was this RPG day, besides geeking out, and having our conversation. So it has been a fun night. It has been a great questful night. What is your last words? I'll start with you, BattleQuest, and then we'll finish off with Everborn. Go ahead.
The best is yet to come. just please go to BattleQuestComics.com. Give us a follow on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and I hope we can just continue to build worlds that that can reach a lot of people.
And you, Everborn?
I don't know, nothing really about Everborn, but there is a piece of advice that I always try to live by, and I try to spread that word, which is be the change that you want to see in the world. If you cannot change the world, you can change yourself, and you are in the world, and therefore the world is changed. So
that's a great final word.
Yeah.
So, guys, it has been a blast. You guys are invited anytime to come and hang out with us, especially because, you know, that was some great geek talk.
Anytime you want some Zack Snyder DC slander, call me back. I'm here to do it.
Shadow, what's your final word? You and your amazing figures.
Oh man, I would have said more, but I gotta say I'm extremely impressed by both of you guys' work, the worlds you're building, and each of you individually as a person. So thank you so much for spending the night hanging out with us. Look forward to doing it again sometime.
I'll tell you this because our Shadow is a little humble, but if you commission him, he can actually make your characters come to life because that's what he does.
Show them the Hugbert.
Oh, want me to show me the Hugbert? Hold on. This is the book I am working on, you know, which is in development at the moment. And Shadow made my character Hugbert.
Oh, you do like 3D models.
Yeah.
Oh no, we gotta
talk. Made by him.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, I honestly, man, I'm kind of blown away with you guys' stuff there.
No. We gotta. Can you DM me somehow?
Ooh.
Yeah, DM me as well, please.
Dude, that's what
I hate you both on
this
Instagram.
guy makes dreams come true.
No. I've been trying to get a 3D model of Ariel made for like 4 years now.
Well, he's the man to do it.
He's even made me in real life.
Yeah. Oh, show him that. That way we can see his face.
It's the only way people will see my face. Oh, did you lose me, Lou? Oh
No, we can't lose you.
Are your hands actually that big?
I have no idea why I have big hands.
That dragon.
Oh my God! Of course, there's Lou from Lou's Lobby.
Oh, nice.
These are all my apple bites.
Okay, no. We 1000% gotta talk. I need a.
No,
we gotta do things.
Absolutely. I'd be thrilled, man.
Shadow is the man, and I love to say, you know, my tagline for him is he can make your dreams come to life.
Well, I have big dreams, sir. So please reach out to me.
And
he's made
all
a
dream.
huge,
You can be in my dreams if I
1/4
can be in yours.
And Nat, what's your last word?
My last word. Man, see, I'm too young to be thinking about my last words. I'm not exactly there yet. I mean, you never know when you're gonna die, so I guess I should be thinking about them a little bit more. But that's a little tough. I guess my last word will be thank you all for coming tonight and watching our wonderful rant on the Snyderverse and discovering these two wonderful artists and their creations. Don't forget to follow them on their respective platforms, both of which will be linked down below and whichever page they have been linked to. And as always, remember on Mondays we have our Apple Bites show at 7:30, and normally for us we have our Written Writ here at 11 o'clock on Facebook, YouTube, and now Twitch, all at Ben Apple TV. Anything else, just remember to hit like, subscribe, and follow on every social media following Bit and Apple TV, and Raphael will take the last few minutes away from me.
As you can hear from our not the intern there on the side, this has been the Written Writ Late Right, and you have been joining us here as we discuss writing, as we discuss storytelling, as we discuss RPGs, as we discuss D&D, as we geeked out. And, you know, all I have to say is what I usually say at this point is I'll press the button here